Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today, it's focused on systems. Organizational, social, even personal ones, the ones that just feel trapped in the gravity of the
But
ordinary.
we've all felt that.
Oh, absolutely. You feel like you're working hard, you're investing resources, you're hitting those quarterly plans, but nothing really fundamentally changes. You're just generating inertia.
Right.
So today we're looking at a blueprint. It's designed to move any system from that kind of stagnation to, well, to greatness.
In the source material we looked at, it draws a really sharp line. It's not just about change, it's about transformation.
Mhm.
And it outlines 8 critical elements you need to get there.
Okay, let's unpack this.
The core premise, and this is what's so fascinating, is that transformation becomes inevitable when vision meets courage.
Not just optimization.
No, not at all. Greatness is never born from these little incremental tweaks. It's forged by leaders who dare to fundamentally redefine the reality they're operating in.
And I loved the central metaphor they use right at the start. They argue that if you want to achieve, superpower status or true greatness, it's not about pressing harder on the gas pedal.
Right, because that's just acceleration. You're still stuck within the limits of the current system.
And if you're stuck in second gear,
Exactly. If you're stuck in second gear, accelerating only burns fuel faster. True transformation, it requires shifting gears entirely.
it's elevation, not just
Uh-huh.
acceleration.
That's the word. It's about designing a new reality. And it's
Mhm.
guided by these 7 golden tools and then this crucial 8th element, which is all about sustainability.
So let's start with those first two golden tools. They really redefine where the work begins. And it's not where you'd think. We're not talking budget spreadsheets or org charts here.
Not yet.
Tool number 1 starts inside. It's igniting a mindset revolution.
And this is the absolute prerequisite. What's so interesting here is the assertion that transformation begins with minds, not with structures.
Okay, what's the distinction there?
Well, change, just tinkers with the status quo. It tries to optimize the system you already have. Transformation creates completely new reality by creating a new collective belief about what's even possible.
So how does a leader actually do that? You can't just announce a new mindset.
No, you can't. It's about 3 key actions. Leaders have to awaken belief, they have to instill a shared, powerful purpose, and they need to cultivate resilience.
You're changing the story.
You are changing the story people tell themselves. So
Rather-
instead of, this is just how we do things, the story becomes, we are redefining what success even looks like.
And the source uses a really powerful historical example to show just how much leverage this gives you.
It does. It cites a single leader, Muhammad, peace be upon him, who inspired this profound shift that propelled a marginalized society from total obscurity to global influence, and in a remarkably short period of time.
And the point is that the main resource wasn't capital.
It wasn't capital or military force. It was pure belief and unified purpose. And the takeaway here for you, listening, is profound. When people see themselves not as victims of circumstance,
Bound by budgets or bureaucracy.
right, but as architects of destiny, the impossible just becomes inevitable. That mental shift is the foundation for everything else.
Okay, so once that mindset is energized, where do you direct all that new energy? That takes us to tool 2, outcome over process. And the source gives a pretty harsh warning here about, drowning in procedures and mistaking activity for progress.
We've all been there, trapped in systems that celebrate compliance over actual results. Transformation demands a relentless, almost brutal focus on clear, measurable, and inspiring outcomes.
So we need to stop rewarding people for just doing their best if it's not getting the job done.
Exactly. Or following the rules if the rules themselves are broken. I mean, if your organization is hitting all its deadlines but still losing market share, you have a problem.
That's a huge signal that tool 2 is being ignored.
It is. Processes are just the scaffolding. The outcomes, that's the vision. The practical application here is that SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, they aren't optional.
They're the compass.
They're the compass for the entire system. They align all that energy and they strengthen accountability. Every single process has to bend toward that shared horizon.
Okay, so that sets the stage. We've got the mindset, we've got the focus. Now we move inside the structure. The next pair of tools, they deal with who holds influence and where the resources really go. And this starts with tool 3, shifting the balance of power.
Right, and if you connect this back to the bigger picture, empowerment here is a core strategy. It's not charity, it's not some motivational tactic, it's capacity building.
So transformation thrives when the powerless become powerful.
That's the idea. Leaders have to be willing to redistribute influence to the people closest to the action, the staff, the users, the communities themselves. That's how you unleash all that dormant energy and wisdom.
Okay, but hang on. Shifting the balance of power, doesn't that just risk, controlled chaos? How do you make sure that doesn't just lead to conflicting agendas or
Yes.
paralysis?
That is the essential question. And the blueprint isn't arguing for anarchy. It's advocating for decentralized responsibility. The central leadership, they still own the vision. That's tool 2, the outcomes.
But the execution is local.
Exactly. The efficiency comes from getting rid of bottlenecks and tapping into local knowledge. I mean, the people on the front lines, they know the problems and the potential solutions way better than the executive team does.
So the leader sets the what, and the team closest to the problem defines the how.
Precisely. And in systems with constrained resources, this is where voluntary social movements become the backbone of progress. Transformation stops being a top-down program.
And it becomes a movement.
It becomes a movement that everyone drives. That ownership shifts from the few to the many.
And that leads perfectly into tool 4, investing in people, not just services. This is where we go from the abstract idea of power to a concrete investment strategy.
And the distinction they draw is so stark. Services, the software, the buildings, the supply chain, they're lifeless without the people who animate them.
People are the engine.
People are the engine. You can buy the best services in the world, but if the staff using them is untrained or disengaged or just undervalued, it's just expensive junk.
So for anyone listening, what does this mean for their budget? Where do you redirect the money?
It means you invest in capabilities and in dignity. So equip people with continuous skills development, not just a one-off training. Involve them in key strategic decisions. And build robust recognition systems that reward innovation and contribution, not just seniority.
So your staff, they stop being just employees. They become custodians of the mission.
That's it. That sense of psychological ownership is so critical. It builds immense resilience. Because if your system faces a disruption, a custodian will find a creative way forward. An employee will just wait for direction or, look for another job.
Okay. The first 4 tools have built the foundation: mindset, focus, power, investment. Now we get into disciplined execution. Tools 5, 6, and 7. Let's start with number 5. Evidence as the North Star.
This is the quality control. This asks the big question. How do you avoid guesswork when you're aiming for something so radical, especially with decentralized power?
Right.
The answer is disciplined execution guided by evidence of what actually works.
Because it's too easy to just default to the path of least resistance or chase some pet project.
Absolutely. So leaders have to adopt proven interventions, adapt successful models, and this is key, ruthlessly abandon untested assumptions and things that are failing.
It takes courage and humility.
It does. The courage to change everything and the humility to admit when your favorite idea just isn't working. So if you're trying to solve a problem, you don't just run with the first idea. You look outside, find 3 models with verifiable success, and you adapt the best one.
You stop relying on habit and start relying on data.
Yes. It transforms risk into resilience and ensures vision becomes verifiable progress.
Okay, so that gives us empirical discipline. Tool 6 then brings us to systems thinking, seeing the whole. The blueprint really stresses that no challenge exists in a vacuum.
Right. Problems like poverty, ill health, illiteracy, they're all woven into one destructive fabric. And if you try to treat them separately in their own little silos, you are almost guaranteed to fail.
This is where we have to shift from seeing problems as these independent things to seeing them as symptoms of a deeply interconnected system.
And that's where you find leverage points. It's a term we hear a lot.
Yeah, let's define that. What specifically is a leverage point in this context?
A leverage point is a single strategic intervention that, because everything's connected, generates benefits across multiple outcomes at the same time.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Instead of just funding, say, a literacy program which addresses one symptom, you might find that subsidizing public transportation is the real leverage point. That one action could reduce poverty, increase employment, and improve health outcomes all at once.
So you find the knot in the fabric,
Yeah.
and you pull that one knot instead of just trimming all the loose threads.
That's a perfect way to put it. And that strategic thinking leads us right into the final golden tool, which is arguably the most radical one. Tool 7, the ideal design approach.
This is about moving beyond just problem solving.
To problem dissolving. Reactive solutions, they just treat symptoms, they put a bandage on the wound.
Right.
Ideal design forces this radical thought experiment. It asks, what would perfection look like if there were no constraints? You visualize that perfect system, and then you work backward. You ask, what are 3 steps we can take right now to get 10% closer to that?
Can you use the source as example to contrast that with traditional problem solving? Is a really good one.
It was. Traditional thinking sees high traffic fatalities and says, let's build more trauma centers near highways. That treats the tragic outcome.
It's reactive.
Totally reactive. Ideal design looks at perfection, 0 accidents, and works backward. It focuses on prevention. Investing in intelligent road safety, public education, autonomous vehicles. The trauma center treats the symptom of the crash. The road safety investment dissolves the problem by preventing the crash in the first place.
Saving vastly more lives and resources over time.
Immensely more.
So we have the 7 golden tools, but as the blueprint says, transformation is fragile. It can collapse, which brings us to the critical 8th element, sustaining the shift through legacy and culture.
This is the anchor. Legacy building ensures that all these new systems and values and practices, that they outlive the initial charismatic leader who sparked the change.
Without this, it's just a temporary spike.
It is. It will just fall back into that gravity of the ordinary. The source defines 4 pillars to make sure it's permanent.
Okay, walk us through them. This is where it gets anti-fragile.
First, you have to institutionalize values so they outlive personalities. This means writing values like transparency and courage into your hiring and firing policies, not just putting them on a plaque.
The values become the DNA of the system.
Exactly. Second, embed fairness and transparency into governance. That builds trust and stability. Third, create rituals of renewal.
What does that mean?
Establish processes for continuous learning, for mandatory reflection, for adaptation. It's the engine that fights that gravitational pullback to the way things were.
And the 4th pillar?
Designing robust succession pathways. This isn't just management training. It's about empowering future leaders to carry the torch and innovate beyond the original vision. If the system still relies on one person's energy, it is not truly transformed.
So without legacy, transformation is a spark.
A brilliant, fleeting spark. With legacy, it becomes a flame that can light generations.
So what does this all really mean? The transformation blueprint gives us a clear, actionable path. It's not about doing more of the same, that's just acceleration. It's about elevation, shifting gears into a new reality.
We've covered a huge path today. From igniting mindset and focusing on outcomes, through shifting power and investing in people, into disciplined execution with evidence, systems thinking, and ideal design.
All anchored by that enduring culture and legacy.
Right. And the source makes the case that this comprehensive blueprint, it works for any system seeking greatness.
Whether that's an organization struggling to innovate, a small community, or even, a personal goal you've struggled with for years.
The blueprint concludes by saying that history just gives us overwhelming evidence that this kind of transformation is possible, that it's inevitable when vision meets courage. So the final question for you to consider, based on everything we've unpacked, is this: are you ready to lead it?